Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today guys we're going to be jumping down into the world of Bitcoin, taking a look at what's been going on most recently and what we think is likely to happen next. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I do appreciate that. It does help spread the content to more like-minded individuals and grows out the Cheeky community. If you haven't yet joined us in Discord, check it out, linked in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there. If you're new to the channel, subscribe and stay up to date with everything that we do. Okay, let's jump right down into this one. Bitcoin paired up with USDT on the weekly chart, and Binance is the data source. As you can see here, we did close below the 200 EMA. Okay, so again, this is just kind of reinforcing the kind of narrative of what is going on here. On week commencing 13th of February, we can of course see that we closed above the 200 EMA, and obviously last week, the week commencing the 20th, we've closed below it. Okay, this basically means that it's a bit of a fake out above the 200 EMA here on our weekly chart. Now, if I bring this over into our Bitcoin USD pair, using Bitstamp, then we can see that the EMA is actually slightly higher anyway, and we never closed above it, and we are in fact still bearish by closing below the 200 EMA and not actually ever closing above it. But on the USDT pair, we can see, of course, that 1 week where we did close above it. But we're back in line. We've closed back below it. So again, we kind of have that kind of continuation of what we think is going on. Now, from the weekly chart, we can, of course, see that we're overbought. So again, we are still expecting further downside at the macro level, but we are oversold on the daily. So do expect some volatility. It's probably likely that we will push up slightly higher. So let's go ahead and talk about what's been going on. We're going to start things off with the Elliott wave structures. Let me just clear that out so we can take a look at what's been going on. Okay, so yesterday we were talking about the potential for a 5-wave structural point to the downside, and good news is we can avoid this now and we can look at this as just a simple zigzag because we did cross up higher than this wave 1 situation just over here, yeah, I mean, basically that means that we cannot be doing a 5-wave structure, at least not as I kind of had it mapped out. At best, we would have to look at these things as diagonals, and I just don't think that fits either. So what we're going to do is we're going to clear this out now. So it's the good news that we don't have to kind of worry about trending to the downside under these structures. We can still go down, of course, it just wouldn't necessarily be under those structures. So we can finish that off and just look at that as a zigzag pattern. Essentially, that zigzag is going to be an A, B, and C like that, and it's done. We don't have to worry about it in any other way. So we did break out of our sideways ranging market, okay, that we were up here. That happened when we crossed down lower than this level over here at 23,339. So now that that is done, we can argue that we are, going to be keeping track over different structures. Let me find out if this is actually an important one. I don't think it is. Let me clear that out. Okay. So knowing that we've now kind of finished this B-wave structure down, we can now talk about the move to the upside, $27,000 to $28,000. Okay, now this is still it's a possibility. This is not a guarantee, and it's still not a guarantee because we still have the ability to think of this as an irregular flat. Right in here, A, B, and C. Okay, and if that is the case, then actually the next move would be to the downside on a bigger scale. But, if we are to think bullishly and to think positively, then we'll look at this as a zigzag to the upside, which is A, down here is B, and then we go up into C. And that puts us in that range. We'll just go ahead and check this because obviously as time has progressed, we dropped down a little bit lower, so we'll go ahead and pull this over and adjust our targets accordingly. It's 26,800 now to a slightly higher range, just up here at 27,969. Okay, so we know that it's right up in this little area that we are looking. I'll leave that structure in there and remove that one, so we can kind of take a look at it and think, okay, cool, we're in this kind of ABC zigzag structured move to the upside. Okay, of course it's corrective. In fact, most of this is corrective. So it's not giving me the kind of the hopes and thinking that we are in a trend-based structure or anything like that. A lot of people might even also think that 25,250 is the top. It is kind of the local top, it is done and we can reverse from here, also equally possible. But again, for now, it does look like we have this potential structured move to the upside on our hourly chart for Bitcoin. So for the most part, oversold on the hourly. So yeah, it looks like that's a pretty good place to think about maybe a move to the upside. Let's just go check that structure, see if there's anything we should be concerned with in there. For the most part, no, it looks pretty standard at this point. So it does actually look complete. It looks like we kind of are complete right in here. It doesn't look like it needs to go up right now. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how that kind of emerges, whether or not we just come down with our 4 hour being over bought in the way that it is. It needs to actually come down. That's a possibility, so keep an eye on that. On the 8 hour chart, we've got progression in both directions. It doesn't really give us much conclusion over where that's going to go. The 12 hours okay, 16 hours okay, 20 hours okay. Daily is still got some room to the downside. So it could be that actually we pull back down just a little bit here before we rally on up, and it could just be that we're not really seeing this as its potential just yet. It's got to come down a little bit deeper. We'll see how that kind of plays out slowly over time. Let's take a look at the smart money concepts, and it does actually have a imbalance in the order books here that's looking likely to kind of get filled out. That is of course right down in here. This is between 23,244 and 23,366. This imbalance, this fair value gap, you can see we've tapped into it a couple of times. We'll probably have to chew through this and then kind of take it from there. If we do, then we'll probably break that structure that's currently set up in here. We do have the bullish change of characteristic here, and then a break of structure at this point. But coming down, filling this fair value gap, essentially would change the structure again to the downside, because it would break that high. So it'd be interesting to kind of see how that one plays out. Chances are that we do have to kind of pull down and fill that gap out a little bit. There is, of course, the order block just a little bit lower down here. Okay, which is where we consolidated previously. So that would look like a pretty sound place to kind of be thinking about consolidation after the imbalance is taken care of. As you can kind of see on the higher range, our equilibrium and our sell order block is right up here, just a little bit higher. This essentially would be putting us in the range of around 24,000 to 24,130 approximately. So right up in that area. Now, if we were to think about the structure overall, we've got a long way to go and a lot of resistance to work our way through. So do expect it to be a pretty choppy ride. Now, we still have our bearish change of characteristic here, and this one is a slightly bigger picture. Okay, so this one is going to be the area that could see us move down quite significantly. Even though we have already completed that zigzag pattern, it could quite easily turn into a double zigzag. So just kind of keep these things in mind. The oscillator, the stochastic RSI, can be good, but we should be aware that it doesn't really relate to price action. It only shows you the strength of the movements in price. So at the moment, the next move to the upside will be determined to how strong that is with how quickly that stochastic RSI moves. And we cannot distract ourselves from the fact that we have had a change of characteristic that is not a minor, it is major with this solid line. Okay, so the last time that we saw that was with this positive one over here. We saw a good run to the upside. This one to the downside here, we can see one over this side. We do bounce up, okay, from time to time when we see these. And so it's not unusual to move up above the change of characteristic, and if we do start to move down and get another break of structure, then unfortunately, yeah, we're probably going to have to come down significantly lower. At the moment, we do have a weak low and a strong high, so again, those things are also equally important. So although Elliott wave theory is telling us that we have this potential move to that 27 to $28,000 range right at the top there, we should be aware that smart money concepts is a little bit counter to that. It is saying that although there is a possibility that we do this structure to the upside, there is also a high probability that the market is going to continue moving down because we have had this change of characteristic. It's something that we're going to have to keep a close eye on and see if the market does develop out even more in this particular direction. The other thing we have to bear in mind is there is this imbalance that was left behind up here. This is up in that range of 24,800 to 24,950. So that is a gap that probably does have to get filled out at some point. So a move to the upside, at least up towards a double top, is something that we will probably have to kind of consider at some point as well, but we would have to fight through equilibrium, and so therefore it would be a bit of a struggle, and it's going to be a very choppy market to kind of get up there. Now, I think it's the 14th of March for the core inflation rates in the US, so that gives us a few weeks to kind of move our way back up again before potentially seeing some negativity enter into the space and more fear. It'd be interesting to kind of see how it plays out, but ultimately it's important that we don't distract ourselves too much, because our macro, of course, is still signaling that we have some room to the downside. Just short-term gains on the smaller timeframes, but ultimately on the larger timeframes, we should still be thinking corrective action to the downside, which is the most likely scenario. Guys, I'm going to leave the video there, just a brief update on BTC. If you found it useful and informative, hit the like button. I do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. And if you haven't yet joined us in Discord, check it out, guys. Linked in the description below. Until the next one, have a fantastic day.